All right. Good evening, GCA champions, and welcome to the March Parent Meeting and Parent University. My name is Veronica Opani, your 6th through 8th Family Engagement Coordinator. Miss Michelle, if you can change it. Okay. So we thank you for protecting time tonight and joining us. On tonight's agenda, we will be sharing family engagement updates, the March Family of the Month, Milestones, testing parent information, and then we will dismiss you all to your respective grade bands. We're going to do a different, tonight we are in Zoom, but we will dismiss you to your different grade bands in your Jigsaw link that we will provide in the chat box towards the end of the session. So we will dismiss our leaders, our school leaders, to their rooms, and then we'll dismiss the parents. So if you have any students that are more than one grade bands, then you just choose the one to attend, and all of our parent universities will be recorded. So you do not have to worry about missing them. You just won't be there live if you have multiple students. So re-registration is now open till May 5th. If you are returning to GCA next year and you have registered, that means you secured a spot for your student, but please make sure you update any information, your addresses, any phone numbers that have made change. Please make sure you update that with your FSL. If you or your family is not returning to GCA next school year, we still ask that you complete registration for us, the re-registration process, and just mark saying that your student's not coming or not returning. And as always, if you have any questions, please reach out to your FSLs. Either way, we are here to support you with whatever decision you choose to make. Now, save the date. Next week, we will be hosting our District Improvement Plan CLIP input meeting. We invite our families and our stakeholders every year to participate in developing the consolidated LEA Improvement Plan, the CLIP. The CLIP has 5 major components, right? It's the District Comprehensive Needs Assessments, the District Improvement Plan, the District Parents and Family Engagement Policy, Migrant Identification and Recruitment Plan, and last but not least, our Foster Care Transportation Plan. The CLIP must be approved annually by the state for our schools to receive funding from the state and federal programs. So again, we encourage your attendance next week as we continue to strive for student achievement. And much needed break is coming up. It is spring break. Spring break starts March 29th until May 2nd. Please take advantage of enjoying your family safely as we break for spring. And it always gives me the great pleasure to reveal our Family of the Month every night that we have our parent meetings. So tonight we're excited to reveal March's Family of the Month. But first, for those who are not familiar with the Family of the Month program, the purpose of the Family of the Month is to recognize and show appreciation to those families who demonstrate the enthusiasm, commitment to learning, positivity, and actively involved at GCA. So families are nominated by their teachers and support staff. And March's Family of the Month is, drum roll please, the Lauder family. We asked the Lauder family to send us fun pictures. We're going to show you guys in the next slide, fun pictures of their beautiful family and a bio. And I wanted to just take a quick moment to read their bio that they provided. The Lauder family has 4 students at GCA, 2 in 7th grade, and 1 3rd grader and 1 1st grader. So a big family at GCA. And this is their first year. So we're excited that they're part of our community and they've been recognized as one of our Families of the Month. The Lauder family quickly learned that GCA has an online learning dialed in with very robust programming, bursting with academic rigor, mixed with fun and compassion from the best teachers around. So you can read more about the Lauder family and our past Family of the Months by visiting our website. Miss Christie, if you can put that in the chat box so that families can, go and see all the Family of the Months, our alumni Family of the Months. And here is their beautiful picture with their learning coaches and their parents. And again, congratulations to the Lauder family. Now I'm going to pass it on to Mrs. Christy Howard, your elementary grades family engagement coordinator.
Thank you so much, Veronica. Good evening, champions. And again, welcome. So I am going to be reviewing our Georgia Milestones parent information portion of the presentation for this evening. And we do have quite a lot of information to cover. So as we get started, I do want to remind you that the information we are sharing tonight is the most current information we have regarding state testing as of right now. As with anything, especially since the start of this unprecedented pandemic, as things change, and if they do, we will be sure to update and inform our families. So what are we going to cover tonight? In this portion of our parent meeting, we will be giving you a Milestones testing overview and review some of our testing logistics. So as you can imagine, state testing looks very different in a fully online school than it does in your traditional brick and mortar school. And we want to make sure that our parents understand the Georgia Milestones assessment and what to expect so that you can have those meaningful conversations with your student to help them prepare for testing. So in this portion of our parent meeting, we will cover what is Georgia Milestones and who takes them, where will Milestones assessment take place, what health and safety precautions will GCA be implementing, when will Milestones assessment take place, how long will the assessments take, what about testing accommodations? When will the assessment results be available? How can parents prepare to support their student? And we have set aside time for Q&A, and we'll let you know what you can do if you still have unanswered questions. So after our parent meeting, we will transition into school level parent university jigsaw rooms where our school leaders will specifically cover how to help your student academically prepare for milestones, along with sharing some wonderful test taking strategies. All right, so what is the Georgia Milestones and who takes them? All right, so the Georgia Milestones is a comprehensive assessment system. It does span grades 3 through high school, and Georgia Milestones measures how well students have learned the knowledge and skills outlined in the state-adopted content standards in English language arts, mathematics, science, and social studies. So who takes them? Students in grades 3 through 8 will take what we call the EOG, or end of grade assessments, while high school level students or students enrolled in high school level courses will take our EOC, or end of course assessments. So I do really want to stress and let you know that if you have a student that's in kindergarten, first or second grade, those students do not take the Milestones assessments. The Georgia Milestones assessment system is designed to inform efforts to improve student academic achievement by assessing student performance on the standards specific to each course, subject, and grade tested. So the ultimate goal of Georgia Assessment and Accountability System is to ensure that students are provided the opportunity to engage with high quality content standards and receive high quality instruction predicated upon those standards in our position to meet those high academic expectations. All right, so where will milestones be taking place? On a typical school year, GCA holds milestone testing at various locations across the state. Last school year, the federal and state Department of Education's canceled state testing. This school year, our superintendent, Mrs. Lassiter, has reached out to the Georgia Department of Education to formally request permission for GCA to test remotely. We are currently waiting to hear back from the Georgia Department of Education on this request. So again, we will be sure to update our families as more information becomes available. But in order for you to be prepared, we are sharing our current plans for in-person milestone testing. So to that effort, we do understand that assigning students to the closest, most convenient testing location is helpful in making testing less stressful for students and families. So for that reason, we do attempt to assign testing sites to students based on their primary address that's listed in Infinite Campus. So it is important for families to make sure that your address that you have listed in Infinite Campus is correct and up to date. If you need to update your address, you can then follow the instructions that's outlined on our website and the clickable link in our slides. And you can always reach out to your FSL or Family Success Liaison for assistance. We're asking for the deadline to update any last minute address changes be by this Friday. All right. So what health and safety precautions will GCA be implementing? GCA takes very seriously the safety and well-being of its students, families, and staff. So as such, we will implement rules and safeguards in order to safely conduct Milestones testing during the 2020-2021 school year. So we want to encourage you, please be sure to check out the website for the list of safety precautions GCA will be taking, and we will be putting this in the chat as well, because we do have a quite extensive list there for you to review. All right, so Georgia Milestone testing features. So what does the test look like when the student is taking it? So of course, we're gonna have those multiple choice questions, A, B, C, D, that kind of thing. But we want your student to be prepared for specifically, they're gonna see technology enhanced items in all grades and courses. So what does that look like? Well, it may be, maybe the student is manipulating blocks of information in the order, first, second, and third, that kind of thing. Or they might be plotting points on a graph. So something outside of that multiple choice kind of type answers. Open-ended constructed response item in English language arts in all grades and courses. So that's when they go into more detail writing their answers out. And of course, the writing component in response to passages read by students at every grade level and course within the English language arts assessment. So a more in-depth writing component as well. And then a reported Lexile score based on English language arts assessment in all grades and courses. And the Lexile score measures like essentially where the student is reading at. What level is your student reading at? And then estimated norm reference performance ranges for all grades and courses. So what is that? The norm reference assessment components, they compare the student's performance to that of their peers within a cohort and similar training and or experience. Okay. So for testing dates and for which grade bands. So for our EOG, that's end of grade, our 3rd through 8th grade students, go ahead and you can mark your calendars for this. This is what we have for Monday, April 19th will be our 3rd through 8th graders. We take in English Language Arts Section 1. And then you can see underneath the time estimates that we have listed, the minimum time, maximum time per section. And then Tuesday, April 20th, grades 3 through 8 for English Language Arts sections 2 and 3. Wednesday, April 21st for grades 3 through 8 in mathematics sections 1 and 2. Now, Thursday, April 22nd is going to be only our 5th and 8th graders are going to be testing science sections 1 and 2. Then Friday, April 23rd is going to be just our 8th graders testing social studies sections 1 and 2. And again, just to prepare your student, you can see those time frames for each section. All right, so for our 9th through 12th grade students and or students that are enrolled in high school level courses for the EOC, that looks a little different. So we have it by course at the top. So if your student is enrolled in taking an American Literature and Composition, that section 1 is gonna be on Thursday, April 22nd. And then the section 2 and 3 for American Literature and Composition is gonna be Friday, April 23rd. Biology sections 1 and 2 will be on Monday, April 26th. Physical science, which is typically for our 8th grade students that are enrolled in the physical science course, they're going to be having sections 1 and 2 on Monday, April 26th. U.S. history, students enrolled in that course will be on Monday, April 26th. And then algebra 1 for students taking that course is going to be Tuesday, April 27th. All right, so students enrolled in those courses are going to be taking the associated EOC. And then additionally, a small number of those 8th grade students are going to be taking that physical science. All right, so we have a couple of notes about testing times. The first one is about report times. So each day we will be holding 2 testing sessions. One will be at 8 a.m. and one will be at 1 p.m. Your test site coordinator will send you information letting you know which time your student will come in to test. And I say that specifically, especially if you have a student in high school level courses. Are you coming in the morning or are you coming in the afternoon for your test? And you'll have that full list of what which ones your students will be testing on which days from your test site coordinator. But for our students taking the EOG, we have our 3rd through 5th grade students, they test in the morning session, and that is at 8 a.m. And then we will have our 6th through 8th grade students in the PM session at 1 p.m. All right, so just to note, with the minimum maximum times that we shared in the previous slide are so that you can prepare your student for their allotted time to take the test. That's not necessarily to know when to pick them up. So let's talk a little more about that. Each morning or afternoon of testing, your test site coordinator will provide you with the approximate time frame expected for that day of testing. And this is to allow for things like testing instructions and breaks in between, sections and things like that. So again, they're going to give you a more approximate time frame each day for student pickup. Students may not leave the testing room until all students have finished the final section of testing. And of course, this is to avoid distractions. We would hate to distract any one of our students that are still testing. If your student has extended time accommodations outlined in their IEP, TPC, or 504 plan, then the maximum time will be adjusted per their plan. Let's dive a little bit more into that, because I know if your student has accommodations that you would want to know about that. So testing accommodations as outlined in your student's GCA, IEP, TPC, or 504 plan will be implemented during testing. So before testing, prior to testing, a GCA representative will contact you to confirm your test location, dates, and report time, along with any testing accommodations that GCA is planning to provide your student. It's really important that you notify GCA of any questions or concerns that you have regarding your students' accommodations. And just to note, at this point in the school year, all accommodations should already be in place via the student's IEP, TPC, or 504 plan. So no testing changes should be made to the student's plan between now and EOG, EOC. If you have questions about which accommodations your student is scheduled to receive, a first go-to is to refer to your copy of your student's IEP, TPC, or 504 plan, or you can always contact, for your student, you can contact an IEP facilitator or special education teacher if your student has an IEP. You can contact your English learner teacher or EL teacher if they have the TPC, and you can contact your school level 504 coordinator for 504 plans. All right, so assessment results. The milestone results will be available in your Parent Infinite Campus account toward the end of the school year. GCA will communicate when the results become available in those parent accounts. So you're going to be able to view your student's score and achievement level results through your Infinite Campus portal under Assessments tab. And the achievement results will be listed as 1 for beginning learner, 2 for developing learner, 3 for proficient learner, and 4 for distinguished learner. How can parents prepare and support their student? So just, of course, encourage good study and test taking skills. You can help your student log into the online Milestones testing experience to practice the testing tools. And I really want to stress this. This is particularly important, especially for third grade students testing for the first time. But students may forget from year to year all the wonderful tools that they have available, such as a calculator for certain sections in mathematics portion of the assessment. There's a cross-off feature where they can, as that test taking skills, if they're like, okay, I know it's not A and I know it's not C, they can cross it off with the cross-off tool. Graphic tool, a highlighter, magnifier, sticky notes, different things like that, that while they're testing, they can access and use all those. They're really wonderful tools. So I highly encourage you to have your student go to that georgiaexperienceonline.com. All right, discuss the test. And of course, stay positive. We know that our students can kind of pick up a lot of our vibes with that. So staying positive. You're doing everything you can to prepare for the test. The test is a good place to just show what you know, do the best you can. Then point out that some items may be more difficult than others. That is true. You're going to run up against some things that might be hard, but just do your best. And then remind your student to read the directions carefully. So keep a clear schedule and get plenty of rest. So make sure we don't have doctor's, dentist appointments or anything during that time frame. Arrive at the test site on time. It's very important. If we can all get there on time, we can start on time, and we can pick up our students on time. And then after receiving the test results, review them with your student, talk about them with your students, see what they think about those. How can parents also prepare? Well, the week or weekend before, you can get directions to your test site and you can visit your testing location. The day before the test, lay out the clothing and supplies so that your student, and they wake up, they're ready to go. Talk about the test day plan and make sure, of course, to go to bed, that the student goes to bed on time. At the testing location, be prompt. Fill out the forms ahead of time. Be prepared to check your child in and out. Students that are 16 or older with a Georgia ID can check themselves in and out. IDs are important. Bring your ID when you're checking your child out. And then, of course, be prompt in picking your child up. All right, so what your student can bring and cannot bring to testing. Students can bring non-scented hand sanitizer, although we will have hand sanitizer at the sites. And we do ask for non-scented because we know that can be distracting and that's a certain student with allergies. A clear water bottle with a lid and a straw to drink from the water bottle because the student will be wearing their mask for the entire time. A paper book to read, not related to the content tested that day. And of course, not a tablet reader, right? It's got to be an old school paper book and not on the content that they're testing. Students cannot bring tablets, smartwatches, cell phones, and they cannot bring snacks or food. Students should bring a mask to wear properly at all times. 2 sharpened pencils, a light jacket, sweater, or sweatshirt. That's really important because a lot of times in the place we may not have control of the environment. It might be a little chilly. It's better to have layers so that they can feel comfortable while they're testing. Students should bring their GCA Chromebook, charger, and mouse. This is, of course, if you have one issued to you. GCA will provide a computer if you do not have a GCA issued computer. They'll have their test ticket, which will get them logged into the site, and the scratch paper as needed for the sections and for the appropriate test. All right, so at this time, I'm going to be handing it over to Mr. Kevin Goldberg, our assessment manager, to address the questions that have been submitted in our survey last week, and then we will address your questions as we see them in the chat. So just to allow time for our parent university this evening, because we do have a lot more great information, we're going to keep this segment to about 10 minutes. So at this time, I'm going to pass it off to Kevin.
Thanks, Christy. That was really good. I might have to get you to do our teacher trainings in the future. So yes, my name is Kevin Goldberg. I'm the assessment manager for Georgia Cyber Academy, and in large part we deal with Georgia Milestones in our department. So thank you all for being here tonight. Appreciate it. I will try to answer as many questions as I can that were previously submitted. There were a lot of questions submitted, and I'm just to be out front with you, I'm not going to be able to get through all of them. And some of them were a bit more personal or specific than others. In those cases where they're very specific or personal, I'll do my best to have somebody reach out to the parent this week and talk to you about those specific concerns. But for those questions that seem to pop up again and again, or at least different iterations of them, I will try to go ahead and address them. So let's get right to it. And I would say the number one question that we keep getting again and again, and Christy did touch on this at the beginning, is why can't the students take the Milestones tests from home? Why can't we do remote testing? And that is the $1 million question. That's a great question. And we at Georgia Cyber Academy have the same question. Even before the pandemic, our leadership has been asking the state of Georgia, the Georgia Department of Education, again and again and again, to let us do remote testing. That's what our students and our families are used to. That is what our teachers are used to. We have the bandwidth, we have the capability, we have the know-how to do that. And the answer is the state to this point won't allow us to. We can't do it until the State Department of Education gives us permission to do so. So again, even before the pandemic, we were asking permission to do this. And then when this all happened, we've been asking on a regular basis. As recently as this past week, our superintendent has formally asked Superintendent Richard Woods of the state DOE as well as a number of other people for formal permission to let us do this remotely. And we haven't gotten a final decision yet, but they've always said, no, we really don't know. So until we get a final decision from them, we do have to assume that we're having to do this in person, and we're going to make the best of it. So believe me, we're on your side. We want to do this in person, but we also need to abide by the rules. I do get some questions sometimes. Recently, the federal government suggested that states consider doing remote testing. That was not an order though. There's no legal bearing there. It was just the federal government suggesting that states take that into consideration. Georgia to this point has said, we've considered it, we're not letting you do it. So again, not to pass the buck, but we're definitely on your side with this, and we would love to do remote testing. It's just until we get the permission to do that from the state, we can't. Another one I hear a lot, and I see a lot of chatter amongst parents and on Facebook and sort of behind the scenes, is about opting out from testing. There's a lot of questions about how can I opt out from testing? What are the consequences for opting out? There is no legal opting out, to be quite honest with you. There is no, you can search the DOE website for a day. You're not going to find any protocol for how to opt out, because that's not really a thing. You can refuse to have your student test, but there isn't a specific opt-out protocol or guideline. So there is no opting out. The consequences of not testing at this point are that unless your student has a medical excuse to not test in person, if they don't have a medical excuse, then they'll just be marked as having an unexcused absence for the day, each day that they miss testing. They won't be punished. They won't be penalized. Nobody's going to come knocking on your door. Nothing like that. But they will. But school for that day is testing, and if they don't test, they are considered absent. Is there a way to postpone milestones? No, not really. Not for us with our unique setting. If we were in a brick and mortar district where we had our own buildings, maybe we could push things back a week or two. I don't think that's going to make a difference, honestly. I don't think testing the first week of May is going to make any difference than testing the last week of April. But even if we could, we can't. We spend pretty much an entire year booking sites throughout the state in order to do in-person testing. We have over 60 sites that we've booked throughout the state. Typically, they're things like conference centers, college facilities, churches, things like that throughout the state. And it literally takes us a full year to book those sites. It's very expensive. It's very time consuming. And there's just no logistical way that we could push things back a week or two. It just isn't going to happen. So as far as postponing the milestones for our setting, we really can't, we can't feasibly do that. I do get some questions sometimes about transportation issues. What do we do if we can't get to transportation, if we don't have transportation to get to the sites? If you have issues with transportation, please reach out to your FSL right away. They have a mountain of resources, and they are great at trying to help you out with that. Obviously, we don't have hundreds of school buses that can go around the state and take your child to testing. You have to arrange for that transportation yourself. But if you have issues, please reach out to your FSL. When will you find out about where your kids are going to test? That will be quite soon. That will be this month. We will get you that information as soon as possible. We set the end of the month as the absolute deadline, but we'll try to get you that information even sooner to give you as much time as possible to plan for that. So again, it will be in March that you'll find out when or where exactly your student is testing. And then I think Christy answered this before, but there were some questions about having students in different grades. Will they test at the same location, same time, et cetera? They will test at the same location. It is policy for students to test at the same location if they're siblings, if they're in the same household. If you, for some reason, have students who are siblings and they get put at different locations, please reach out. We'll fix that. When it comes to timing, though, that's going to have to do with their grades. As Christy pointed out, elementary students test in the morning for EOGs, and then the middle school students test in the afternoon. There's really no way around that as far as trying to space out students and as best as we can. And then the last question I'll address is what are we doing for in-person testing at the sites to make it safe? What are the sites doing? And again, if you go to the website that Christy posted, we do have all of our guidelines posted there about what we're doing. We take this very seriously. Again, like I said at the beginning, we'd rather not be doing this in person. We'd rather do this remotely. But if we have to do it in person, we're going to do it as safely as we possibly can. We understand that no test is more important than the safety of your family. And so we have very strict mask policies in place. We are very strict about how close we let students come to each other, especially this year. We're limiting how many students can be in a room at one time, depending on the size of the room. Thank you, Christy, for posting that. Along with a lot of other things. Parents cannot stay inside the site during testing. I'm sorry if that causes a inconvenience, but again, we really try to limit how many people are in a site at any given time. We're following CDC and DPH guidelines. Again, as a parent myself, when we look at each of these sites and we try to plan these sites out, as somebody whose family has taken this very, very seriously for a full year now, I do think to myself, is this a situation where I would feel comfortable letting my child attend testing? And if it's not, then we're not going to move forward with that. We are doing the best we can. I would say if you have further questions after this, please reach out to your homeroom teacher or your FSL or your counselor. Again, I hope we answered most of your questions with Christy's presentation and the questions that I answered here today. Again, there are some additional questions that I will make sure that we reach out to you specifically about. I see the Q&A is blowing up as well, and I'll make sure to go through those later too. So if we didn't get to anything specifically, we'll do our best to reach out to you and let you know the answers to any questions. So with that, I think I've used up my time. And I will turn it back over to our FECs here.
Thank you, Kevin. And again, if you do still have questions, we do see there's some questions in the Q&A. We've been posing some of those to Kevin as we progressed. But I do want to say, if you still have questions, we do have the survey. Christy, I think, or Veronica will be popping that into the chat box. As Kevin noted, he will be looking over the questions that came in through the Q&A. The ones that are specific to your student, health concerns, things like that, those are more one-on-one conversations. So those will happen as we progress. But again, as students are assigned to testing sites, your test site coordinator will reach out to you with more information about your site and testing expectations. And they will also be your contact person regarding your students' testing experience. So at this time, before we move on to the next slide, I would just like to have all of our presenters, all of our principals, leads, and assistant principals that are logged in the room right now that are presenting for our Parent University, please go ahead and log out of the session and log into your Parent University rooms so that you can prepare for the parents that will be coming to join you shortly. So just give a few moments for that to happen. But again, we have put the link in the chat box for additional questions if you do have that. But please remember, the Parent University sessions are only going to cover students academically for testing, including test taking strategies. They won't be able to answer some of the other questions that we had here in this main room. We are leaving that up to our Kevin Goldberg, our assessment manager, to answer those so we can make sure you get the correct answer to your question. So if you still have questions, please put them into that survey because in the parent universities, they will only be covering preparing your students academically, including test taking strategies. And Veronica or Christy, if one of you guys can pop the link for the attendance, we appreciate you for coming. Please know that we understand your feelings. I have had Georgia students that have been at Georgia Cyber Academy for 10 years. We went through what you're going through as parents last year. So do understand that we do understand how you feel. And we're trying to make sure that we get you the most up-to-date information as it becomes available to us. We do understand your concerns and want to hear about them. So if someone can please pop the attendance link into the chat box for us. On behalf of my team, Christy Howard, who is our elementary family engagement coordinator, Veronica Opani, our middle school family engagement coordinator, and myself, Michelle Gilliard, I'm the high school family engagement coordinator. We thank you so much for attending. The recordings will be placed on the parent calendar as always. And these are the links. I know you cannot click on them. So we are putting those into the chat box for Parent University, where they will be going over how to help your student academically prepare for milestones and test taking strategies. And again, we've popped the question survey into the chat box. We will leave this room open for about 4 or 5 more minutes so that we can close it out to support our schools in their prospective Parent University rooms. Again, thank you so much for attending, and we will see you in the Parent University rooms. I'm sorry, my mouse clicked forward too fast. My apologies for that. Let me go back.